If you're new to the channel or you're a regular viewer, I want to start off by putting the record straight. It's called LED strip. It certainly isn't called lead tape. Well, he's not here to defend himself today, and I'm sure on the back of that it'd say, Gary, you're not very good with a soldering iron when it comes to LED strip. And he'd be right as well. So I was over the moon when we had a delivery of the MACAU cob LED strip from ROBUS, because it had a set of insulation displacement connectors, IDC connectors, which meant I didn't have to get my soldering iron out in order to make my connections to my LED strip. In this video, we're going to look at those connections to both the IP20 and the IP67 version of that. But I've mentioned the word cob there. You might be thinking, well, what does that mean, Gary? Cob, chip on board. In other words, lots of LEDs in your LED strip. If you want to know more about that, I'll leave a link to the videos we made on that in the description so you can check those out. But first of all, let's see how easy it is to connect to the IP20 version of the MACAU LED strip. You're going to show me how to connect to this LED strip then?
Yeah, so we've got our super nips there, and we're just going to cut right in the middle of the, between the two solder pads. And then we'll bring in this insulation displacement connector. So it's metal pins up and the yellow phosphor strip facing up. Bring in the PCB with our wires on that we're going to connect to the LED strip. And then it's just a case of punching that through the circuit board. So we've got some plastic pliers. We used to do that just so it's quite gentle on the connector. And it's just a good squeeze, and that actually punches through the circuit board itself.
So you're telling me that that is connected now, so I could energise it at this stage and find that I've made that connection?
Yeah, you could, but also in the pack you'll find this clear heat shrink. So that serves two functions. One, it insulates the metal pins on the top of the IDC connector and also provides a degree of strain relief to our connection. So just bring in our heat gun and you'll start to see that form around the connection we've just made.
There's something quite satisfying about seeing that shrink up as well, isn't there?
Yeah, there certainly is. There certainly is.
So once that's done, you're going to energise this and just confirm that we've actually got it connected properly?
Yeah, let's just do a quick test. Always best to try and do that before you get to site or up in the roof. Yeah, so that works fine.
Something I find quite challenging is when I have to join two LED strips together.
Yeah, and again, with this IDC system, it is incredibly easy. So again, similar process. So we'll just look at that connector. We can see the metal pins, again, that we've just used to connect the wires to it. And the same heat shrink. So there's a top tip here, Gary.
Well, you're telling me you should put it on before you make the connection?
Yeah, make sure you put that on, yeah. Otherwise, you'd have a long length of LED tape to run that down if you didn't. Same principle, yellow side up for the phosphor strip, metal pins up. Just push the LED strip in, and then just bring in the pliers again and punch through.
So them insulated pliers, squeeze them together, we've made the connection. That is incredibly simple. I think even I could do that.
Yeah, so then just to finish the process, we're just going to bring in our heat shrink that we've put on. Just put that over the top, and then again back in with the satisfying heat gun. Again, that just provides a degree of strain relief and insulates the connections on the top of the connector.
Those joints are transparent, so from a lighting point of view, you wouldn't see them, would you?
No, that is super easy.
Right, challenge time. So let's go back on with the soldering iron. That was very easy what we've just seen. Is it as easy when you're soldering?
Okay, so I'm just using some ROBUS Vegas LED strip here. Now again, soldering for me is incredibly easy when you're on the bench. However, on site it's more of a challenge, but again, we're just tinning our wires, tinned our pads and bring the two together. And if you're not confident at soldering this, I would not recommend even trying it. You can see I'm shaking away there, Gary.
No, I'm liking the first method a lot more already, yes, than making the connection with that soldering. Exactly the same process with the heat shrink?
Yeah, same process with heat shrink. Yeah, again, and it's probably more important with these two because that strain relief, if you haven't got the strain relief on, it is incredibly easy to tear the wires and the PCB pads off the LED strip. You know, you get it caught on site or something like that when you try to install it. I'm
not sure I'd want clear if I was doing the soldering, maybe black for me.
But again, that's a good thing. It's a bright clear heat shrink. A lot of people supply LED tape and it's an opaque heat shrink. So in this case, you lose an LED.
I think I'm going to stick with the insulation displacement method of connecting to LED strip. Anyone who's seen me solder before. I think it was clear there which version I preferred. The IDC connector is going to be my go-to connector for LED strip and not solder. You notice it wasn't me doing the soldering, it was Gordon. However, I'm interested in your comments. Leave them below. Are you an IDC or you're a solder when you come to your LED strip? Hopefully we can all agree though, when we start thinking about IP rated LED strip, it's obviously more challenging to make that soldered connection and maintain its IP rating. So in the next part of the video, I want to show you how we made our connections onto the IP67 version of the MACAU LED strip. So this is the MACAU IP67 LED strip. Is it more complicated to connect to?
No, we're still going to use the eFIXX connector. There's just a few more steps involved in the assembly process. The first being that we need to remove the 3M adhesive tape from the back of the strip in the area we're going to make the connection. Then we just bring in this plastic end cap. So a few things there. First, we need to put some silicone in there. So just a small amount of RTV silicone.
Oh, something quite satisfying about doing that.
Yeah, it's like build an eFIXX model. And then you can see where we've cleared the tape there. We're going to push this on. Now there's a window on the bottom of this end cap, and that goes on the adhesive side of the tape, and you'll see our excess silicone is just squeezed out the end.
Is that window there so the connections can go through it?
It certainly is, yeah. So we've got that ready. So now the next step, we're just going to get the strip warmed up a little bit, nice and supple. Because again, we're going to use an IDC type connector that's going to push through the silicon and the PCB. Just bring that in and that clicks through. And then if you look in close there, you can see where the connections have gone through the PCB. So let's just have a quick test, see if that worked.
And again, being clear, it allows the light to come through it as well as seeing those connections. Yeah, perfect, first time.
That's it. So let's again look at another scenario. So again, we're going to cut some LED tape and then we're going to join it together. So again, using the same plastic end caps, and here's our joining connector. So the same process again, some RTV silicone in the back of each side.
Okay, so that's square silicone, and then obviously they're going to slide on exactly the same process. For this time we've got effectively two sections to clip into. Again,
remove our tape. They won't go on if you don't remove the tape. Again, so just slide into place, and you'll see the excess squeeze out at the end.
Is there any issues now with polarity? We've got to make sure we get it around the right way?
Yeah, so again, it's more a case of looking to make sure on a cut length that you're connecting to the right end, and obviously your positive and ground connections are obviously in line with each other. So again, same process, we're just going to heat up the strip, and then it's really easy, just push the connections through. Again, there's a satisfying click, and you'll notice how the other one mates into that slot in the middle.
We're giving a solid joint between the two then.
Yeah, and you'll see again, they've buttered right up to each other. There's almost, there's a tiny gap in the light line, but it's going to be unnoticeable when we come to check it. Push down with the pliers just to make sure we've got our connections.
Yeah, and it's lined up, yeah. Well, what's this?
So here's a short end-to-end joining cable where you can see we've got two of the easy clip connectors at each end. So this might be if you're going around a corner of a building or something like that. It's often not good to, you see sometimes people twist and bend the strip around.
So they only join on the straight, isn't it? So,
yeah.
Okay.
So again, you just have to watch your polarities here a little bit.
Okay, is that from personal experience here, Gordon?
Okay, this is our second attempt at it. The first time, again, yeah, we just got to watch the obviously the various ends to make sure that our the positive and the ground connection line up. But the procedure is the same. Put our end cap on with the window facing down. Again, we've put the silicone in there.
And you've confirmed this time that when we bring these two together, we've got the positives facing each other, is that right?
It's more a case of just making sure you're going at the right end of the LED strip. Again, the warm-up procedure is the same, but you'll notice there's polarity markings on the back of the connector.
That's handy, yeah.
Yeah, so it's again just making sure that the positive lines up with the positive on each side when you make that connection. And then again, just push together and there's a firm click.
You can see them through, can't you?
Yeah, and then again, checking on the other end that our positive connection, remember we're upside down. When you've turned that the white connector over the other way, the positive is obviously underneath. Just making sure when you do push through it is going into the positive connection.
These IDC connectors are really going to make life easy for everyone, aren't they? Yep, there we go. Really good connection.
Yeah, let's just check that works.
Yeah, generous length there to turn it round with as well. What are we doing next?
So to finish our system, just in case of putting a silicon end cap onto the end of our MACAU LED strip. So again, a bit of RTV silicon in there and just push this end cap on again. You'll see I've removed the tape in the area we're going to apply it.
Hopefully that proved the point of the IDC connector, and especially when it's IP, in this case 67. Easy to join, easy to turn it round corners, a chance for you to level up your LED strip installations by making your life easier by using an IDC connector. But as always at eFIXX, we're interested in your feedback. Are you currently using the MACAU LED strip from ROBUS? Leave it in the comments below. Are you an IDC connector and you'd always go for that way of connecting to your LED strip because, like me, you're not very good at soldering? If you leave them all below, I'll try and get back to as many as I can.